This is the abdominal wall anteriorly or anter-abdominal wall. When you cut and reflect it, we enter the abdominal cavity. This is thoracic wall. When you remove it, it's the thoracic cavity. Now see, if you take the two walls, this partition can be marked. This is D diaphragm. This is D diaphragm. See over here, I will show on that side, don't worry. See, this is the abdominal wall anteriorly. This is the thoracic wall with the ribs and everything. Okay. So between them, see this structure. This dome is your diaphragm. D diaphragm. Okay? This is D diaphragm. Everyone can see. This is the right dome. This is the left dome. See, two domes you can find. Okay? This is D diaphragm. The diaphragm between thorax and abdomen is called D diaphragm. Okay. So when the question is D diaphragm, write only about thoraco-abdominal diaphragm. Okay. Now thing is over here, what you can find, see, you can find here the diaphragm clearly. Okay. Below that, on the right side, this is liver. See, this is the diaphragm. You can see beneath which I have put my finger. This is the diaphragm. That parchment-like structure, thick parchment. Then over here, see, this is the liver. Okay. And this is the anter-abdominal wall. You can find here, see, where I put the forceps. See this thing. Okay. See this thing clearly. See, everyone see. See this thing, this is a fold of peritoneum that is spanning on one side from the liver to the other side to abdominal wall in front and to diaphragm above. This is the falciform ligament. Okay, see over here. See this thing. See this fold of peritoneum. See, on one side this fold is attached to liver. On the other side it is attached to anter-abdominal wall and to diaphragm above. So this thing is your falciform ligament. Okay, this thing is the falciform ligament. Okay, now see, we have seen the liver very clearly, but the spleen needs a lot of straining to be seen. That is in the left upper abdomen. Just give me some time. See, just see clearly. I will be showing on every segment. First, you see on this side, you can find here a dark color structure into which I put the forceps in. That is spleen. Okay, so see over here. See, there is a dark color structure into which I have probed the forceps. On the top left upper abdomen. Can you find it? See. Yes. Okay. Don't worry. A lot of muscle work needs to be done. See?
Yes, sir.
See here. On the top upper left quadrant of abdomen, there is a very dark looking structure, purplish dark structure,
yes,
into which I have pricked the forceps. That is the spleen. See,
yes,
there is a structure pricked here. See, take your time. You can find a structure pricked here. That is the spleen. See, you can find a structure in the left upper quadrant of pricked. Okay, that is the spleen. See. See over here. See, in the upper top left abdominal quadrant, I have pricked a solid looking abdomen. We see this thing just like this lying horizontally on the very top. This is transverse colon. Okay, and with the help of the transverse colon, we can divide the peritoneal cavity into an upper compartment and a lower compartment. So this is called a supracollic compartment. This is called intracollic compartment. Okay, now you see over here, this thing is your transverse colon. Okay, see, this is the transverse colon, and this fat-loaded membrane attached to it is the transverse mesocolon. Okay, see, this is transverse colon, and it is attached to a fat-loaded membrane that in turn is attached to abdominal wall. So this is the transverse mesocolon. Okay, so see, this is the transverse colon. This fat-loaded structure is transverse mesocolon. Okay, now you see, when we see the supracollic compartment. Okay. On one side you see the liver, on the left side you find the spleen. In addition to that, this sac-like structure over here, this is the stomach. Okay. See, this structure over here, this structure over here is the stomach. Okay, this is this sac-like structure, dilated part is the stomach. Okay, now you find one thing, this is the liver, this is the stomach. See, spanning between the two, you can find here. See, you can find here a fat-loaded structure again. This is lesser omentum. See, this is stomach, lesser curvature. This is liver. This is the lesser omentum. Okay, so see over here. This is the greater curvature of stomach, and hanging from that, see, this fat-loaded fold is greater omen. Okay, see over here. This is the greater cholecystoma spanning. See how great extent it goes down. This entire thing is your greater omen. Okay, so that is why it can reach almost any part of the peritoneal cavity from due to large extent. And see, when the greater omentum ascends, where it gets merged, transverse mesocolon. See, this is the greater omentum. It 2 layers descend, then 2 layers ascend, and when they ascend, see, they are getting merged with the transverse mesocolon. They are getting merged with the transverse mesocolon. Okay. Now, see, the stomach is followed by the small intestine. What is the small intestine? Duodenum, jejunum, ileum. Okay. Duodenum is retroperitoneal. That is just opposed to posterior abdominal wall, and in front of that is peritoneal. So you can find that you can't see that here. That is for jejunum, ileum. So see, this loops which I am holding. Okay. This loops is the loops of jejunum and ileum. Okay. This loops is loops of jejunum and ileum. And see, this thing is the mesentery. See, these are the loops of jejunum ileum, and this thing is mesentery that attaches the loops to the abdominal wall. Okay. So this thing is your jejunum ileum loops, and see, this thing is your mesentery. It's a mesentery. See, this is the mesentery. Okay. Now in the mesentery, this is the attached border root, and this is the free border which contains the loops of jejunum ileum. Okay. So see, these loops are jejunum ileum. To that opens the ileum, and in the cecum there are 3 openings. One is opening of ileum. Just below that, you usually find the opening of appendix, and above the opening is continuous with ascending colon. That is on the right side. Okay. So see over here. See, it is continuous with ascending colon. Okay. So see over here. See. See, this thing that you see is the terminal ileum. Okay. Terminal part of ileum, and this sac-like structure cecum. So this is the ileocecal opening or junction. Okay. And just below that, you find a structure here. See, that flesh color tube is appendix, and this four loaded pad is mesoappendix. Appendix. So this is cecum. Sorry, this is ileum terminal part. This is cecum, the ileocecal junction. Just below ileocecal junction, this tube is appendix. This 4 loaded pad is mesoappendix.
Sorry.
Okay.
This is the vestigial part.
See. So this is the terminal ileum. This is the cecum, the ileocecal junction. Beneath that, this tube is appendix. This 4 loaded pad is mesoappendix. See over here. See, this is the terminal ileocecal junction. Just below the ileocecal junction, this tube is appendix, and this fat loaded fold is mesoappendix. See, this tube is appendix. Okay, this tube, see over here. This is the terminal ileum. This is cecum, ileocecal junction. Then you can find here a tube, flesh colored tube, that is appendix, and this fat loaded fold is mesoappendix. Okay, clear? Now see over here. See, in this body of the right side, so the cecum is on right and left fossa. From that, what goes off? Okay, see, this thing is your ascending column. See, this thing beneath which I have put the fossa. See, this thing beneath which I have put the fossa. This thing beneath which I have put the fossa. Okay, that is ascending column. Cecum is continuous above with the ascending column, and that is on the right side. And the narrow gutter by the side is called right paracolic gutter. Okay, that is right paracolic gutter. That where closely the ascending column is present. Okay. Now see, this is your transverse column. This is ascending column. So that is on the right side, and this junction, what I am holding with my hand. Let me hold your hand. But this junction between the ascending column and transverse column that I am holding is called the right coliflexor, and see why it is called the hepatic flexor, because nearby there is liver. Similarly, see, on this side, transverse column, and that is followed on the left side by this. See, this thing is your, yes, see, this thing on the left side. Okay, this thing on the left side, okay, is this thing on the left side. See, can you find this thing on the left side? See, this is on the left side. Okay, vertical part of the column, that is your descending column. And similarly, the junction between the transverse column and the descending column, that is nearby here, is called left coliflexor, and here the spleen. Right? So that is why the other name left coliflexor is splenic flexor. Okay. Now, see, the descending column is present nearby the left paracolic gutter. Okay, gutter means the sewerage drain. So this you can know the analogy. Okay. So now you see over here, this descending column is sigmoid column. So see, Can you find this AC? I was on that side. This A-shaped structure is sigmoid column, and this fat-coated fold is sigmoid mesocolumn. See, what I'm holding with my thumb as index finger is the sigmoid column, this curved structure, and nearby that fat-coated fold is sigmoid mesocolumn. Okay, so see over here. See everyone. So what to get in pelvis, we can see better here. Sigmoid fold follow rectum. Okay. So see, this is the male pelvis. Okay. In the male pelvis, what you get? See, in the front, this is the pubic symphysis. This is pubic symphysis. Okay. Pubic symphysis, and behind this is sacrum. Okay. So just behind pubic symphysis, this large expanded structure is your urinary bladder. Okay. The urinary bladder, that is for the urethra. Urinary bladder for the urethra, and in the top part of urethra, this triangular structure is prostate. That you don't get in the female. So this is urinary bladder for the urethra. The upper part of urethra, surrounding that you get a triangular structure. That is the prostate. Okay, that is the prostate. Okay. Then behind the urinary bladder, this is the rectum for the anal canal. Okay. So this is the urinary bladder, and behind that, in front of the sacrum, this is the rectum for the anal canal. So now what happens? See, what happens if it's a vertical disposition? The peritoneum first starts from the diaphragm, then gets reflected the falciform ligament to the liver. From there, you go to lesser of the stomach at the lesser omentum. Then it comes to the surround the stomach and comes down the greater omentum. Then it goes to transverse mesocolon. From the transverse mesocolon, it forms the mesentery. Then from the mesentery, it forms sigmoid mesocolon. Then when it enters the pelvis in male, it forms a pouch between the urinary bladder in front and rectum behind. So this pouch is called your rectovesical pouch, vesical for urinary bladder. So this pouch, rectovesical pouch, then it goes up and merges with the peritoneum. Okay, so there is a pouch formed by the peritoneum in the male pelvis. Clear? Now see, this is the female pelvis. So in front, this short structure pubic symphysis. Okay. Behind that, this is the sacrum. Now just behind pubic symphysis, this stone structure is the urinary bladder. See, this is urinary bladder for the urethra. This is urinary bladder for the urethra. Okay. Urinary bladder for the urethra. Urinary bladder for the urethra. Okay. Then behind, in front of the sacrum, this is the rectum for the anal canal. Okay. In between them, what is in the female? This is rectum for the anal canal. This is loops of intestine above that, above the rectum. Okay. And see what I am holding is the uterus. This is in between the two. That is in the female. Okay. This is the uterus for the vagina. Okay. Now you see when the peritoneum comes down to female pelvis, first it forms a pouch between the urinary bladder and uterus. That is called vesico-uterine pouch or uterovesical pouch, whatever you call it. Then from the uterus, it forms a pouch between uterus and rectum. This is called recto-uterine pouch or pouch of Douglas. Then again it goes up and merges with the abdomen peritoneum. Okay, so what are the pouch formed here in the female? Between the bladder and the uterus, uterovesical pouch or vesico-uterine pouch, whatever you call it, and between the rectum and the uterus, the recto-uterine pouch, the name of that is pouch of Douglas. Okay, pouch of Douglas. We just need to know two things for the theory in the liver. This is the anatomical position of the liver in human, mostly on the right side is present. And see over here, I told you that a L-shaped attachment of lesser omentum on the liver. So one limb of that L is the fissure for ligamentum venosum. See, this is the fissure for the ligamentum venosum. Okay, fissure for ligamentum venosum, and that is followed by what I am pointing with my finger is porta hepatis. Okay, the gateway of liver, porta hepatis. Okay, so where I have probed the forceps is fissure for ligamentum venosum, and where I am putting my finger is the porta hepatis. Combine the two, get L. Okay, that is the L-shaped attachment of lesser omentum on the liver. See, this is the fissure for ligamentum venosum. This is the porta hepatis. When you combine them, you get an L. On that L is attached to lesser omentum. Okay, so part of the liver giving attachment to lesser omentum on the liver is the fissure for ligamentum venosum and the lips of porta hepatis. Okay, now the last thing you need to tell in the epiploic foramen. See, I will tell now what epiploic foramen is. See, this is the quadrate lobe of liver. See, this is quadrate lobe of liver and this is quadrate lobe. So this is quadrate lobe, this is quadrate lobe. Okay. See, in the quadrate lobe there is a right border. This is the right side, right border. There is a lower border. The junction of right and lower border, there is a process formed. See, this is called the quadrate process of liver. So can you mark what the quadrate process is? This is the right border of quadrate lobe. This is lower border. Where they join, there is a process coming up. That is the quadrate process. Now the last thing to be appreciated in the body is the divisions of the peritoneal cavity. There are two broad divisions of peritoneal cavity. They are sac-like. One is called lesser sac, smaller in size. One is called greater sac, larger in size. See, you can just visualize here in your mind's eye, obviously what that is. Now see, here is the liver. Then between the liver and stomach, the lesser omentum. So imagine the part of the peritoneal cavity behind liver, lesser omentum and stomach is lesser shaft. So imagine these three things: liver, that then lesser omentum, the stomach. Behind that, the part of peritoneal cavity is your lesser omentum, lesser shaft, and rest is greater shaft. If we exclude that lesser shaft, that place behind stomach, lesser omentum and liver, rest is greater shaft. That's how if the two parts there must be communication. That communication is called foramen of Winslow. So where that is, let me show you. Winslow or epiploic foramen. Okay, we'll read everything in the theory, the spelling and all that. See, let me do one thing, please. See over here. See where I put the forceps. Okay, that is the foramen of Winslow. See where I put the forceps. Okay, that is behind the instrumentum more or less. Okay, that is the epiploic foramen or the communication between lesser shaft and greater shaft. So obviously here the forceps is entering lesser shaft, but that is just behind liver, lesser omentum and stomach, and this part is greater shaft. So that point has to be the opening between the two. Okay, so see into lesser shaft. That is supposedly the space behind the liver, the lesser omentum and the stomach. Whatever is left behind or left apart, you get a shaft, and this is the communication. So here the forceps is opening into lesser shaft, and that point where the forceps is just entering is the communication between lesser shaft and greater shaft. Okay.
Yes.